Peace and greetings, everyone. So, for this next chapter into this channel, we're going to be going down deep rabbit hole, and we're going to be using this device, which I posted earlier. But honestly, I have another device that would be an upgrade to this because at the moment, it's still a work in progress with this firmware. I'm going to go through the ideology of how to more or less own or crack or hack really any credit card. Um, these are called smart cards, and I'm gonna be using two different um, researchers for this. One is Sarab Crush. I'll post the link to their blogs. And the second individual is Salvador Mendoza. I'm pretty sure he's done DEF CON stuff, and he has written a lot of the code for this PN 532. So definitely make sure to check out both their blogs. But I'm just going to be doing just a digestion of really what this is all about. So getting right to it, EMV card is Europay MasterCard Visa, also known as a smart card. Um, and these cards, well, the old cards, I guess, or you could call them the dumb cards, just had the mag strip. So the smart layer is this NFC chip, and I'll be going into a lot more of this. This uses the ISO 7816, and for driver's licenses that they're working on, that uses ISO 18013. So both of these basically have very specific standards on how all the data is put in there. And basically, the banks and all that are banking on that bad actors don't figure out that file system of sorts. So, how these cards work is there's a contact on these chips, and these chips basically have an integrated circuit, and when it gets close to the reader, uh, more or less, it charges up the circuit and activates uh, that chip. So here he kind of breaks through kind of just the communication that goes back and forth. So all of this, when you interact your card with a POS system, what's actually happening is there's a series of commands that the POS terminal is sending to this chip card. And it's kind of complicated, but it's an essential process that's necessary to go through all the credentials and confirm that this POS system has the right access to it. So you could read through some of this, but the most important stuff here is that we're interacting with ICC, which is Integrated Circuit Card Contactless. Uh, so this uses RF frequency, which is where these modules come into play because it operates on 13.56 megahertz. So these are, like I said earlier, based on the ISO 1443 protocol, which is the NFC type A. It's the NFC 4 type A. So, there's a lot of different terminologies you kind of have to get acquainted with, but they all kind of make sense and be helpful in the future. And then it also goes into Magstripe. Over to Salvador Mendoza. So really, how we interact with an NFC card, or also using like Google Pay or something, um, or Apple Pay. There's various different methods to do that. You could either use, like Python using a Raspberry Pi, or you could use one of these. There's also tons of different readers. This guy is using a popular ACR122U. And this one's interesting to do some research with, which I want to kind of get in the future. But you can connect it to your computer, and there's a really good library, Python library, that allows you to do some testing and even cloning and a lot of other cool stuff. But this is going to be the one you're going to want to get. And I'll put a link down below if you want to do some research with that. But even if you don't have this device, there's still a lot of useful information here. So the first important thing, especially when you're working with my device and the code, um, which the libraries allow you to do this, is you're going to need to understand what APDUs are. And these are the main commands you're going to be sending, which is Application Protocol Data Unit. And you can go to this link here, and it goes a little bit deeper. But before we go to that, the APDU protocol is basically a set of commands that the terminal and card implements to interact with each other. So in your code, every single interaction is similar to, um, going into Finder or your Windows Explorer. So every click is a command. So even just open Windows Explorer, now you're in the root folder, right? That's one command. Now list all the directories that are there. That's another command. And then going to the folder all the way up to reading that file, let's say dog.txt, you need to give separate commands to get to there. So it's not like you just connect to the card and then you just somehow get the credit card number or the credit card info or whatnot. There's a series of commands and a complex structure. So here, looking at this at this picture, you could see a basic structure for a smart card. And then you can kind of uh, research each and every individual one of these steps to find out more. But initially, there's going to be a master file and then a PSE, and then it kind of breaks down into different sections. And it'll kind of make more sense as you learn what each of these are. Um, so, a basic command, when you start using it in the code, which I'll break down in later videos, this is the basic APDU command. And this is a lot more complex than just, clicking a folder and typing in your terminal. Each part of the command has extreme value. And then you're going to get a response. And these responses are really helpful because they could let you know, because there's no monitor when you're interacting with a credit card, so you're going to need to look at the status commands to know if things were successful or failed. So basically, this also goes a little bit more into just how these chips work, and you can kind of get creative on your own terms, because this is where you could do some research into RF engineering, antenna engineering, which I'm doing as well. I have a custom NFC module that I'm waiting to be shipped from PCBWay, um, that you can add an external antenna. So, there's some antennas you could buy online, or you could find some local hams or something, and really get into some interesting antenna designs, because I'm trying to see how. Sorry, my mic cut out, but I'm trying to see how I could maybe maximize the range on these antennas and try and create some interesting possibilities for future situations. for security testing. So maybe have the range be 1 meter or more. I don't know, but just be creative. So then it kind of breaks down the process because now you need to understand how to start communication with a specific card or whether it's Google, Apple Pay, smart card. Um, and this is where you'll kind of need to do a little bit more research on your own terms. Um, but the main basis of uh, everything and anything you need to know, how these cards, smart cards, and NFC chips are programmed. Google ISO 7816. This is the standard for smart cards. Pretty sure. But you will need to really take a good, thorough look through all of the ISO 1716, ISO 18013 if you're looking at mobile driver's licenses. You're going to want to look through all the standards and understand how these cards are programmed and interacted with the developers. And this way you could reverse engineer your own methods and really this stuff isn't that complex once you sit down and really understand it and start to get a little bit comfortable with hexadecimal and binary. But yeah, it's all there. Sorry, I had to switch my mic over. So you're gonna need to know just about all the nitty-gritty. This in no way, shape, or form uh, is is supposed to be easy. So you're gonna need to know how the data structures are, the file organizations. You're gonna need to know about elementary file structures. So it's kind of a lot. And this site it goes through, which I'll post the link in the description. But it goes through just especially the APDU message structure. You know, decoding it. Really, just about anything, everything. Because you got to understand, these smart cards aren't magic. So someone did code all of them. And then gives you kind of an overview of the different responses that you should get and much more. So basically, the commands, the APD commands, will look something similar to this in hex, and you'll get a response. And there's a lot of cool tools. Like here, there's a decoder. And once again, I'll put these links down below. So one of the next important things you're going to need is the application identifier or the AID. And this is if you can think of your card as a huge file system, the applications or the important stuff, like let's say the card's data or the card number, they're stored in applications, but they don't have names. So um, when you're first communicating and you get into the master file, there's something called what the fuck is that called? It's called the capability container. And that basically is an overview of the file structure, the permissions, and all that stuff. And that's where you'll find the AID. And it's usually pretty specific to each device. But with that AID, that allows you to select the application or the applet on that NFC, and then you can dive more into everything. So you can see they selected their application with that AID, and they're using that smart card reader. So then you're going to basically need to learn how you don't need to technically learn hexadecimal, but you're going to need to be able to decode and sift through. Like you see here, the 9000, that means that the response, the request you sent was successful. And then once you break down the different parts of the response, you can get certain information. But once again, there are tools to give you a more human readable response. So as you can see here, he has the AID over here, and then there's other more specific information. So if you're using Python, and I'm going to try to implement this in C++, there's like brute forcing, just like with my fare cards, um, they need you need to authenticate the blocks. So there are some scripts and stuff out there that do brute forcing on that. But yeah, this would be very interesting to also look into because what if you don't, know certain aspects of the requests you're sending? You can kind of just go at random amounts, and this is where it's helpful. Like let's say if you had a Raspberry Pi, it'd probably process brute forcing a lot faster than with the ESP32. Um, so yeah, once again, just going a little bit deeper into the process. But yeah, this stuff has been really helpful because then once you start getting used to the APDU commands, you can kind of customize your stuff. And as you can see here, because it's kind of hard to find some information on this stuff, this is a really cool GitHub project right here, RFID IoT. Uh, but it gives some examples and kind of because you really have to be creative, but it gives you some examples of how their process is. And he had a specific AID, and he had some specific intel, so he could easily brute force very specific parts of the file directory. And yeah, some very interesting other documentation. Like here, he was testing uh, to get information from the mag strip on the Trex. So lastly, I'll leave it at this. So you guys can go and research more about this. But just trying to show kind of the possibilities. And I'm pretty sure Salvador Mendoza did most of his research on the PN532. So even though the code's not really out there, one of the coolest things I found was NFC payment relay attacks. So basically, the idea is that you send APDU commands over from your device. In this case, he was using, I'm pretty sure, Nexus 5 uh, rooted phone, and then over Wi-Fi, shoot that over to another phone, which this phone acts as a target or the NFC tag, and then you use that on a machine. So let's say you're on a bus or something, a bad actor swipes your card, and the bad actor's partner is somewhere, anywhere in Wi-Fi distance. They could even have a square reader. They could be standing right next to the dude. But they could have a square reader. Their device or their phone acts as a card, instantly transfers or pays for whatever to basically just launder the money, and it's gone. And if it's successful, he just nubs his buddy and says, keep swiping, and it's over. So that's a very interesting scenario. And this was in 2018. But he kind of breaks down how he uses two Android phones to do a relay. And another really interesting relay, which I don't think has been done yet, but using the CC1101s, like a device like this, basically with a PN5 module attached, you could, take whatever data you need to convert that over into the format to transmit um, on the CC1101 and transmit that to a nearby other CC1101, decode the data, use that second device's PN532 as a target as the NFC tag, and do pretty much the same exact thing. So how you relay is really up to you. I think I even heard people doing a lot of other interesting things with other devices. But yeah, a relay is a little different than a replay because a relay is just pushing that data forward, but a replay uh, saves that data and is able to push it at a later time. Yeah, so it kind of just goes through various different uh, vessels that can hold that data, and then the different ways that data can hop in a vehicle and go off somewhere. So interesting things are like SDR, software defined radio, USB, obviously, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth. Um, as we said, sub gigahertz frequencies. Uh, you could be super creative. I can guarantee that people will probably use like laser or infrared as well to relay NFC tags. Yeah, so that's just a basic overview. I don't want to dive too deep into it. I think I'll make more videos just on if I actually do end up testing some more of that stuff. But I'll put some links down below for you to check out. But I just want to make sure more people are aware about this. And whenever I get the chance, I definitely will open source what I do with this. But I do have other modules. There's a PN7160, which I talked with um, Elec House, who are the guys kind of making the code for this stuff, and with some other people. And they said they're working on it, but there is the PN 7150, which you can't get this on Amazon. This is pretty sure the only place where you can get a realistic PN 7150 module. But there is a really good library for this that'll allow you to easily or more easily create code than using this. When you're using the PM51 or 532, um, there are the pathways to interact with NFC type 4 tags, but it'll be a little bit more difficult, I'm pretty sure. Uh, but yeah, I have one of these on the way because I need it for a different project. But I'd highly recommend going to a Lec House and grabbing this one. And then I'm going to hopefully make a new development board. Um, I won't say with this Elec House chip because I'm going to most likely make my own chip. Well, I definitely need to because this has a PCB antenna, which won't be the best for our use cases. Like imagine because it allows you to be a little bit more covert. especially if you have a special antenna that's kind of a little bit longer, or you want to just be creative where that's at, and you might want a stronger antenna, or all that stuff. And it needs to be much smaller too. But anyways, I'd highly recommend for now getting this module to do more research on just NFC payment vulnerabilities and NFC payment attacks. Peace.